I appreciate the rent control question because it is on a lot of people's minds, and people are struggling right now to pay their rent. People are struggling to get into first time homes. And if you didn't know, Washington State is the fourth most expensive state in the nation to actually own a home. And so, more supply, in my opinion, is the answer, and not rent control or rent stabilization, which is how the bill is termed this session. I believe that rent control or rent stabilization will do just like it's done in the other cities. I think it will actually destabilize the housing market in Washington State. And the reason that I think that is, even since it's been heard in the Housing Committee and in the Appropriations Committee, I've received numerous phone calls and emails and talked to private developers who have indicated that if this bill, with even the hint of this bill in Washington State, they're already starting to leave. They're buying properties in Idaho and Montana and Arizona and building workforce housing there. And a lot of these builders are folks that were building housing that were under the average median income of homeowners here. And so it would have been affordable housing for our constituents and people that live in Washington State. I think that the solution to the housing crisis is supply. And I would say that I believe that Governor Ferguson also somewhat agrees with that. In his inaugural address, he talked about needing to add wanting to add 50,000 units a year, up to 200,000 in his first term, which is a really, really viable goal. And over the next 20 years, we're going to need 1 million units. So if we put rent control or rent stabilization into place in Washington State and drive out the folks who are actually building the units in Washington State, I feel like we're going to end up in a housing crisis that is way worse than what we're in right now. And what that will do is it will drive rents up higher. It will drive up the price of housing higher. Being fourth in the nation for the most expensive housing prices is not good for Washington State. And we certainly don't want to keep increasing that number. We would like to decrease it so we actually have affordability in both all of our rural communities as well as our urban communities.
So rent stabilization, which we have a bill for, House Bill 1217, is different than rent control, and especially different than the San Francisco and Cambridge model. So we think that we've kind of found that solution to have protections for tenants, so they'll be able to really understand what costs they'll have in the coming years, as well as still working on the supply issue. We're kind of doing both of the things here in Washington. We've passed more supply bills that are very positive for builders and realtors over the past few years than probably any other state. But the one part of the population that has been left behind in our work on getting more supply for our housing crisis is renters. With rent stabilization, just capping the rent at 7%, landlords can raise their rents to market rate when a tenant moves out. Those are some of the things that we think will not stifle the building of new homes and new apartments. So we think we've found the balance there.